Hey and welcome to this Asylum Sanctorium Offtank guide. In this guide I'll cover all the mechanics and how to deal with them as an Offtank, and go over gear and skill setups that will make your job easier. The best 5-piece sets to wear on an Offtank in Asylum are Powerful Assault and Saxil's Champion. You can also fit in Master's Sword and Board. As your monster set, you can run either Spolder of Ruin or Earthgore. If you chose Spolder, you can run 1-piece Magma Incarnate or 1-piece Trainee along with it. If you're not a necro, it can also make sense to run War Machine instead of Saxil, but only if another support, for example a necro healer, runs Saxil instead. As for weights, you have much more freedom. You want at least 1 piece of every weight for the Undaunted Metal passive. Since chest has the highest base armor, you want to put the heavy piece there. You can put a light piece on your head or shoulder. Hands and waist have a very low base armor, and since you can only choose between medium or heavy there, choose medium. Now you're left with legs, feet and head/shoulders depending on your previous choice. For those 3 remaining pieces you can choose between heavy or medium. Heavy will make you tankier but slower, medium will increase your sprint speed. If you chose War Machine instead of Saxil in the previous step, your only option is 1 heavy, 5 medium and 1 light, with heavy and light on your head and shoulder slots. You want to use 1 hand and shield on your front bar and ice staff on your back bar. On pieces with high base armor you want to use reinforced. On pieces with small base armor you want to use either divines or nirnhode. You won't be blocking enough to make sturdy worth it. Dodge rolling is rather useless in Asylum, so well fitted is also pointless. It's best to use tri-stat enchants everywhere if you can afford it. On your jewelry you want to use infused trades with cost reduction enchants. The choice between tri-cost reduction or just magicka cost reduction is up to you, and it's hard for me to determine what will be the best for you because it will depend on your skills, and I'll go over a few skill setups later. I would advise to start with 3 tri-cost enchants and then switch if your stamina sustain is much better than magicka. I can already say that for necromancer, which will be my main focus, I had the best results with 2 tri-cost reduction enchants and 1 magicka cost reduction. On your front bar weapon, you can use either decisive or charged. I would advise decisive on classes that generate a lot of ultimate or have access to minor vulnerability, such as necro or warden. On classes that don't have a lot of ulti-gen and don't have access to minor vulnerability, such as DK or Sorc, you can run charge with shock enchant to provide that debuff. If you choose decisive, you can run either shock enchant for a small chance to proc minor vul, or sustain poison, crafted with Columbine, Bagloss and Blessed Thistle. On your shield you want to run divines or nirnhode. On your back bar you want to run infused staff with Crusher enchant. So here is an example of build I am using. Nord will be the easiest option thanks to the bonus armor. You will also get bonus ultimate that will boost your Saxil or War Machine, but you can obviously fulfill your job with any race. In the blue tree you want to use Duelist's rebuff, Unassailable, Ironclad and Bulwark. There won't be much damage over time, so Bulwark will provide better mitigation than Enduring Resolve would. In the red tree you want to use Boundless Vitality, Fortified, Rejuvenation and Celerity. You want to use the Atronach as your Mundus. If you're having easy time sustaining, which I doubt will be the case, you can also use the Lady or the Steed. The best food will be Orzorga's Smoked Bear Haunch, or a cheaper alternative called Jewels of Misrule. You wanna put all your points into health. If you're playing as a race that has a passive bonus to maximum magicka, you might have to put some points into stamina to make sure your max stamina is higher than max magicka. You can use tri-stat potions, crafted with Columbine, Bagloss and Mountain Flower. If you wanna spend money on it, Heroism potions will provide better support for your group, crafted with Columbine, Dragon's Blood and Dragon Rheum. Now I'm gonna go over regular and safe setups for each class, though I wanna point out at the beginning that necromancer is by far the best option. Options at the top will provide the best support for your group, options at the bottom are the safest. Don't be ashamed of picking safer skills until you learn how to play this role. This is the skill setup for a necromancer. Intensive Mender can be better because it lasts only 8 seconds, so it can be recast for a corpse after only 4 seconds. It's what I used in a World Record run to boost my ulti-gen. Spirit Guardian is way safer and should be your choice when starting. Once you get some experience you can survive without an instant self-heal such as Hungry Scythe, and then you can slot Empowering Grasp instead. If your group is so fast you're skipping minis and you don't need to stack them, you can use Shadow Silk instead of Race Against Time. Summoner's Armor is better because it generates a corpse, but if you're struggling with magicka you'll have to use Balance. As a warden, you need at least 1 animal companion ability to procure ulti-gen passive, so you need at least Bullnetch, Fetcher Infection or Deceptive Predator. You can also fit in Enchanted Growth if your team needs additional sustain. Shimmering Shield can boost your ulti-gen by a lot when you learn how to play without instant self-heal. Deceptive Predator gives you minor evasion, which reduces your damage taken from AoEs, which Asylum is full of. But Race Against Time has a snare removal, so Deceptive Predator is a safer option, but you'll stack the minis slower. Expansive Frostcloak is way better, but if you can't manage your magicka, you'll have to use Balance. Dragonknight. Igneous weapons will allow your teammates to use heroism potions, but it's useless if they didn't intend to use them in the first place, so ask them about it before you slot it. Engulfing flames can be used on Offtank, but you won't get the best value out of it. It's better if someone else uses it. Most people will probably have to use balance, but if you're good with managing magicka, you can use hardened armor. Sorcerer. Crystal weapon can be hard to maintain as an Offtank, so lightning flute is a good alternative. Empowered ward gives your allies minor intellect, but it's a weak shield, so if you're struggling you can use defensive stance. You can use ball of lightning instead of race against time to get around faster. If you didn't choose ball of lightning, then minor expedition from hurricane can be useful, otherwise use balance. Templar. Power of the Light can be used for keeping up minor breach on the main boss, since main tank can't use one-handed shield if they're using elemental catalyst. A good main tank can keep up minor breach on their own, especially if they're a DK or Sorc, but if they're less experienced you might need to help them with this skill. It also procs minor sorcery. You can use extended ritual to heal your allies and cleanse them from the fire debuff and execute. You can use either restoring rune to regenerate stamina or balance to help with magicka sustain. Nightblade. Refreshing Puff gives major expedition and heals your allies, so it can be better than race against time if you avoid the poisonous snare. Mirage's major evasion and minor resolve will definitely mitigate more damage than Balance's major resolve, plus you can get major resolve from a warden support, but you might still want to use balance if you're struggling with magicka sustain. Those were meant to be guidelines. Don't be afraid of experimenting, changing them and using skills I didn't mention. It's simply impossible to cover everything. You can even use defensive skills instead of race against time, but your team will have to focus their minis more because they won't be stacked as fast. If it's not a pug run, discuss your setup with other supports to make sure everything is covered. Gusts of Steam. At 90, 75, 50 and 25% HP, Olmus will jump 4 times, dealing damage each time he's landing. You don't have to move away from it as a tank, you can just block it. Scalding Roar. After a short wind-up, Olmus will deal high damage in a cone in front of him. This ability has a 26 seconds cooldown. You cannot tank through it, and if you get caught inside of it, you'll have to dodge out. Storm the Heavens. Olmus will fly up and start shooting shock areas around him and at people who are far away from him. This ability has a cooldown of 41 seconds. There are 2 ways to deal with that mechanic. You can stand close to Olmus so that you don't get shock projectiles shot directly at you, but you have to deal with those that are shooting out from Olmus. You can also heal or shield through it depending on your skill setup. Or, you can kite and avoid both types of AoEs, but you can't go too far back, because you'd collide with DDs. Your space is very limited. Exhaustive Charges. Olmus will shoot a shock AoE at the farthest person in front of him. Standing in that AoE will drain your resources. This ability has a cooldown of 12 seconds. Thundering Tail Slap. If main tank moves behind Olmus, he will slam his tail down, sending AoEs that stun on hit. It can also bug out and happen right after landing, even if main tank is in correct position. Trial by Fire. After Olmus falls below 25% HP, he will start casting Trial by Fire, which creates 3 big fire AoEs that explode after a moment. It is important not to move away from the fire AoEs as they start to explode, since then you can get hit with them twice because the explosion doesn't happen at the same time in the entire area. It starts in the center and then moves outwards. Lofis will spawn in this position after the 90% jump and after the kite that happens right after. Make sure to already be there when he spawns and melee taunt him, otherwise he will range attack someone else. When brought to 0 HP, he will kneel down for 45 seconds. He will enrage if he has been active for more than 3 minutes. Soul-Stained Corruption. Lofis will start channeling, and if he's not interrupted, he'll keep shooting poison bolts at everyone dealing high damage. This ability has a cooldown of 12 seconds. This channel cannot be let through and someone has to interrupt it. This job is usually fulfilled by one of the DDs, but it can also be done by Offtank, though it might affect your stacking capability, since you'll have to go back closer to Lofis when this ability is about to happen. Defiling Diablast. Lofis will target a single person and deal poison damage in a cone towards them every 2 seconds for 6 seconds, so that will be 3 damage ticks. Deals much higher damage to people who are not the target of this ability. Has a cooldown of 21 seconds. When targeted with the cone, you have to immediately stop moving so you don't hit other people. If the cone happens during the kite, you'll have to kite in a straight line away from Lofis. The cone can be cancelled by moving too far away. If it has been cancelled before the first damage tick, which happens after 2 seconds, Lofis will immediately recast it on someone else. If someone outranges the cone, it's their job to announce it in voice chat so that the interrupter knows it. Pernicious Transmission. Lofis will teleport to one of 4 places shown on the map, leaving a pool of poison in his previous position, that deals high damage and applies a slow. This ability has a cooldown of 25 seconds. Fems will spawn in this position approximately 13 seconds after the 75% jump. You can safely range taunt him, since he doesn't have a ranged attack, and nobody should be in his melee range when he spawns. Just like Lofis, when brought to 0 HP he will kneel down for 45 seconds, and he will enrage if he has been active for more than 3 minutes. Manifest Wrath. Felms will shoot out 2 AoEs that will split into more projectiles as they land. Those projectiles will apply a damage debuff. Teleport Strike. Felms will teleport 3 times to the farthest person away, leaving an AoE on each jump's destination. Your job is to make sure the first jump goes on Backkite. Your main job, besides not dying, is to taunt and stack the 2 mini-bosses, Lophis and Felms on top of Ohms, so that they can be cleaved down. Stacking Felms is easy because he's melee. Stacking Lophis is a bit more tricky because he's ranged, so to stack him you'll have to go in front of Ohms. You also have to make sure that Felms is close enough to your front kite, so that his first jump of Teleport Strike goes on the back kite, so that your front kite will only get 1 AoE on them. You can stop stacking Lophis once you know he won't enrage before Ohms dies. That threshold will depend on your group's DPS. In non-hard mode, where you fight against Lophis and Felms separately, you will instead taunt their adds, Imperfect Attendance when fighting against Lophis, and Pneuma Projections when fighting against Felms. Ohms' hitbox is massive and clunky, so make sure to keybind cycle preferred enemy target and clear preferred enemy target and utilize them. You can also clear your target by clicking escape. Having a proper view on your surroundings is very important here, so make sure to set your vertical offset to 100 and field of view to 130. The 2 most useful add-ons for Asylum are Asylum Tracker and Asylum Sanctorium Status Panel. The alerts you're seeing in this video come from hyper-tanking tools, but they're the same as the ones from Asylum Tracker, just with a different look. You can try to get hyper-tanking tools working, but I'm not maintaining it anymore, so if you can't get it to work, just go with Asylum Tracker. Now I'm gonna show you a recording of a 4-minute Immortal Redeemer run from Offtank's point of view. That's all. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and if you want to see more of my tanking content like guides, trifecta achievements and world records, feel free to subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.